Yo, yo, yo. What's up, everybody? My name is Jeremy Schumacher. I'm a licensed marriage family therapist. I'm the Jer in Wellness with Jer. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the channel today. We're going to talk about Star Wars. I am a parent of two and perpetually behind on whatever is trending in pop culture. I got around to watching Andor Season 2 recently, and it was a really good show and hard to watch while, you know, it's a fun fictional take on what's going on in the real world. Except it's not that fun. It's not that fun. No, I was literally watching like uh, the real time rise in authoritarianism as I was watching the show. So, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about the mental health pieces of it, of trauma and radicalization and exhaustion and burnout and the false promises of the Jedi, uh, writ large, as why religion isn't saving anyone. Um, yeah, let's talk Andor seasons 1 very loosely and mostly season 2. Hooray! So let's say Andor's really good and is comfortably the best Star Wars show. I hesitate there just because I think Mandalorian season 1 was probably better, but then the Mandalorian has not stayed as good because they fall into what lots of Star Wars does, which is making it about the Skywalker family. Andor is just consistently good. I have some critiques of like some slowness and some plot holes, but it's really good. It's Star Wars without needing to be based on the one specific family, and honestly, without like Jedi either. Obviously, Vader makes an appearance at the end of Rogue One. The other thing that like I just don't love, that for me personally takes me out of it is prequels have very low stakes. Anytime Cassian is in danger, I find to be very boring because obviously he makes it because he has to. I guess Star Wars has canonically introduced cloning, so he could be a clone by the time Rogue One rolls around, but I don't think they're that willing to jump the shark. So, some lower stakes is maybe my main criticism. Whereas Mandalorian, we don't really know what's going on. Grogu dies in the Jedi Temple slaughter when Anakin turns evil, right? Like that. They can't do that, but that's what they should do. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Now I've spoiled some of The Mandalorian when I was trying to stay spoiler free. So from this point on, spoilers ahead. I saw the show months after it peaked in popularity when it first came out. So sail the seven seas if you don't have Disney Plus and watch it because it's great. End of spoiler free review. On to the spoilers. Real quick, like brush up on season 1. I can't swim. One of the saddest, most brutal deliveries of a line in television history. Season 1's really good. Season 1 sort of builds the basis of like Cassian getting involved in the rebellion and like the banality of evil. I don't know, like it what sticks out to me not having watched season 1 in like over a year or however long it's been, because I didn't watch all of season 1 before I jumped into season 2. What sticks out for me is like the carceral system, the prison sequence in Andor. I know there's the big heist and it's fun and exciting. Like again, season 1's really good too. I think it's a very good Star Wars show. I think what I and a lot of other millennials grew up with Star Wars because we came to it late, right? Came out in 1977, 80, 81, whenever the rest of the trilogy came out. 81's not right. Anyway, 1977 was the first one, episode 4. Like 1999, episode 1 came out, and it was sort of exciting, but also I was too cool for school, where like Jar Jar was a huge turnoff for me, and the dialogue's really bad in episodes 1 and 2, and even as a child I knew that. So like, I think for millennials specifically, it's just what I can speak for because I'm a millennial. Um, the world of Star Wars was always cooler than like the Skywalkers. Luke is a putz, and I will maintain this and dismiss anyone who thinks that he's the hero, because he's not. It's the story of Anakin through and through. Um, the only time Luke seems heroic and cool is in The Mandalorian when he kills all the Dark Troopers. That's a cool scene. He seems very cool then. Dark Troopers have been built up as being nigh unstoppable. And then, like, the one Jedi in the galaxy is like, what is this, robots? Come on. I mean, Clone Wars is great television, and both like the animated crazy version where Grievous seems really creepy and scary, and the CGI version. So like Rebels is fantastic, right? But like I came to Rebels late. I started watching Rebels once I had kids. So like some of this stuff was really good, and there was good Star Wars going on, but the the grandness of the movies, I don't know. Somebody watch episode 2 and tell me like it's well written. I just don't think it is. And like episode 8 is awful. So the idea, the world, the universe of Star Wars has always been the coolest part of it, and it's always been the thing that I think brings people back. And so Mandalorian season 1 and Andor really do lean into like, here's this really cool universe. We've done all this world building. Let's explore. And that seems really fun. And that seems like a really great way to talk about something like fascism, to talk about the evil of a police state, authoritarian carceral system being bad, being irreparably bad. There's no fixing or reforming it. It is a broken system because it is a bad system from the get-go. Like, yeah, let's talk about that. I think those themes are both important and somewhat more approachable with some pew pew lasers in them than, you know, just a documentary about how terrible the prison system is, which it is. So Andor season 1 again hits some of that like heist, big chase, cool ship, explosions, without veering into like needing a Skywalker to save us all, which is appreciated. And season 2 is like the rebellion's moving, but so unfortunately is the Empire. And what's going to bring us to Rogue One, and Rogue One itself being a prequel of episode 4, but trying to fill its plot armor for episode 4 of why was the Death Star so stupidly vulnerable? Well, because that was intentional sabotage, you see. It's very like fan servicey in premise while not being fan servicey in execution. Which again, like, great, don't put a Skywalker in every single Star Wars thing. What if? Most people don't know about them. That'd be cool. Let's explore those aspects of the Star Wars universe. Because otherwise it's, I don't know, bland and boring. And while Hayden Christensen's a much better actor by the time episode 3 rolls around, there's some not great stuff. Let's not even talk about episodes 8 and 9. Somehow we can skip those. Andor season 2 picks up on, we have some veterans in the resistance, in the rebellion. We have a growing net of I have friends everywhere. And we have sort of the evil plot of the Death Star comes to light. And how is the Empire going to go from like, doop, 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 we're just, in war with the separatists, and when we're taking away all your rights, but promise we'll give them back, to like full on evil. And so we have sort of the problem of Gorman and state-funded media and propaganda and all those things that, again, while I'm watching the episodes about Gorman, the No Kings rallies are going on, and it's very uh exciting but also tense to like see the LA police start to get violent when they're unprovoked, and you're just like, here's Gorman, here's our moment. Like, an uncomfortable watch with how realistic it is, and like, this is how fascism happens. This is how authoritarians take over and they never give power back, because of course not. So we have both sort of like the rise of the rebellion and the shifting from like loose, disparate, rebellious actions into an organized rebellion. And we also have like the crystallization of the empire as a fascist authoritarian regime, not just the galactic empire is the rebrand of a republic. Like, no, that's gone. Um, and again, it sort of all culminates. I think I, like a lot of people, fired up Rogue One after you finish Andor, because you're like, oh, right, this is the next step. There are some weird time jumps in it, storytelling necessity, I guess. Um, but Cassian is sort of the show is called Andor, right? Like we're focused on Cassian. Um, we get some classic Star Wars stuff. I thought it took me a minute to get into the season. Everybody said it was great, and I have probably some version of PDA, persistent drive for autonomy. Or for those of you who, like me, are older and knew the DSM-4, um, pathological demand avoidance. The rebrand is persistent drive for autonomy. Good rebrand while maintaining the same letters for the shorthand. But now I'm on the spectrum, and I have ADHD, and I have some natural tendency to take the opposite stance of whatever is popular. So everybody loved Andor season 2, and I was resistant to watching it because I, for whatever reason, the way my brain is wired, would find ways to dislike it because it was well liked. And I just don't have time to like watch a ton of stuff all the time. I got little kids and they wake up early, and I'm a natural night owl, and that's not a good mixture. So I try and go to bed early so I'm awake when my kids are awake. It's a whole thing of being a responsible adult. And the first couple episodes were boring. Come at me, fans of Andor. They were boring. Again, these high stakes of like, Cassian steals a ship. How exciting. How very Star Warsy. Ha ha ha. He went in reverse instead of going forward in the hangar. And then he's like captured, and you're like, what if he dies? Except this is the prequel to a prequel. We know he doesn't. So again, some of that's me. I have a hard time getting into it. Some of it's me. I'm naturally resistant to things that are well liked and very popular. I think seasons 4 and 5 of Breaking Bad make it a not great show. I'm contrarian by nature. The first few episodes are slow. Mon Mothma is probably the most interesting character. And like Luthen is definitely interesting in this season as well. I think sort of like the master secret spy the show gives to us that we like get to love. At the end of the show, it sort of wraps with like, but he's this controversial figure within the rebellion because of how secretive he is. And you see sort of how hard, and this is realistic, and I want to talk about this mental health component of this, how hard it is to maintain a movement with increasing numbers of people, because human beings are bad at in-group out-group dynamics. And so Luthen, while doing so much for the rebellion, is disliked within the rebellion because there are people who just either don't like him or think he takes up too much space or don't agree with how he does things or wish he liked them more. It's like sort of the pettiness of humans and, fish people. I used to be like a big Star Wars nerd where I'm embarrassed right now to not know what Admiral Raddus and Akbar are. I should know. I'm going to think of it later tonight. I'm going to kick myself. But like, yeah, it's Star Wars is played real fast and loose with how many aliens are in the universe. Lots of humans, pretty much everywhere. but yeah, it's that sort of in-group out-group dynamic, that implicit bias of like the more people we have, the harder it is to keep everyone happy, and the harder it is to maintain momentum because like there's splinter cells. We're gonna break off. And like admittedly, Saw Gerrera, however you say his last name, uh, is a crazy person. And then like Rogue One, he's introduced as like the friendly face who saves Jin from hiding. Oh, we saw this guy lose his mind though. So that was one of the other plot holes for me. It was like Saw is losing his mind here, right? Like he's a crazy person. I'm using that fictionally as a fictional world of Star Wars, not as a mental health professional. Um, he's cracking under the stress, and then he sort of comes back and is in Rogue One as like neutral. I only watched the first like 10 minutes of Rogue One. I didn't rewatch the whole thing. I know how it ends. It's kind of what I needed. Um, we also have the trauma of Bix. She's got PTSD, real bad. And that's like good. It's not good that she has trauma. It's a good representation of trauma. And I don't love how the female character has trauma, but the men are also tough and like doing great. And I wouldn't say Cassian's like stable. Again, we meet Cassian in Rogue One being like deeply distrusting of droids. So, like he's got some PTSD too, but like Bix is dysfunctional and developing a drug habit with her trauma. So it's a good representation of trauma, the flashbacks, the struggling to sleep, the how triggering can random things be, and how bad it is for your brain to remain in a state of feeling unsafe. And like that's really, yeah, I don't know. Like again, that's something that sort of made it hard to watch right now because it's like, chronic stress is bad for our brains, and we're not wired to be aware of every terrible thing that goes on all the time in our own country, let alone across the world. And like, oof, yes, hard on the brain to have atrocities happening every day. So there's that. And I thought like the representation of PTSD was really good. I think that's not new, but like, I don't know. I think like Peaky Blinders did a good job of like historically putting into context that we've always known PTSD is a thing, and like people get shell shocked from World War One, and so like that was good. And so establishing PTSD in a galaxy long ago, far away, I think is also good. Like Anakin's whole story is about trauma, even though that's not really how it's depicted. It's got that real bad separation anxiety. Padme also trauma. She's, you know, died from sadness. That sounds like PTSD to me. If I was to diagnose the Anakin Skywalker lineage, that's a trauma. Um, Shockingly, then, like Luke's such a twerp, and he doesn't have that much trauma until later in life. Wanted to meet my friends down at Toshi Station for power converters. Luke's an annoying hero. This is a hill I am comfortable staying on and fighting everyone. I won't die on it because I'm in the right, that Luke's an annoying person and not the hero of Star Wars. Although, if I ever get the chance to see Mark Hamill, I will fanboy to the max. Mostly because he voiced the Joker in my childhood. Anyways, back to Andor. I'm staying on topic, I promise. The PTSD I think is pretty good. We sort of get like bits and pieces of it with Cassian and some of the other characters. There's just like a lot of grief. There's a lot of loss. They keep losing people. And again, I think it's interesting to sort of see the tightening of the rebellion as almost like a sunken cost fallacy. But it's the show, I think, does a good job of not veering into that because it's mirrored with the zealots of the Empire and how that goes poorly for them. And so like Deidre ends up in the horrific prison that we've saw from season one. And like, I don't know, there's some sense of justice there. Cyril is slowly disenfranchised and then dies before his character arc really is fully disenfranchised with what the Empire is. But again, we see, and there's someone who's got family trauma, right? Like that poor guy didn't stand a chance. That's real poor boundaries from his mom. They are enmeshed. It's a very uncomfortable dinner scene of meet your mother-in-law going on in season 2 of Andor. It's not a family drama, but yikes, that dinner scene. It's uncomfortable beyond just the blue milk. And so, yeah, I think it sort of mirrors like the rigidity is the wrong word. The tightening, the crystallization. I don't know why crystallization feels better than rigidity because crystals are by nature rigid. But you sort of have like the tightening up of the Empire and of the rebellion mirrored, and while the tightening up of the rebellion isn't like comfortable to watch, it's very human, whereas the Empire is very cold and dispassionately about the system more than the humanity. The rebellion at its core is about the people in the rebellion for the people, and the Empire is devoid of that because it's about control. And so I think that juxtaposition works really well, where some of the other things that would make you be like, ugh, it's all very organized religion-y of the Empire here, or of the rebellion here. It doesn't quite veer into that. That's always been my issue with Star Wars and the Jedi, is like the Jedi aren't good guys per se. They're doing good. They're like a cult. A messed up one at that. That's for another video, because again, the whole point of Andor being really great is it didn't do the Skywalker saga. It does, because Rogue One's really cool because Vader comes at the end. Like that's cool part of the movie. The coolest part of the movie. I have a Your Empire Wants You poster behind me. Vader was the coolest part of Star Wars growing up, hands down. Again, I liked the bad guys growing up, but like, yeah, as an adult, that poster is very much about America is the empire. That's the satire there. Not that I'm promoting fascism. Which is what I have to say to a lot of people, especially clients who are older than me, when we get on the topic of Star Wars. Like it's shocking how few people know George Lucas based this on the Vietnam War, and the rebellion is Vietnam. It's America's the bad guys, just throughout history. So yeah. And like Andor really doesn't pull any punches around that like, hey, this group of people is bad. And not just because like the Emperor's evil, not just because Tarkin blew up a planet, but because like the core concept of we should be in power over these other people rather than people should work together, like, is innately evil. Yes, the Emperor's a bad guy. Yes, he's villainous. Yes, Vader's turn to the dark side is a bummer and makes things a lot worse. But like at its core, the pursuit of power over someone else, the pursuit of control over someone else is bad. That's broken. You're only able to get bad results from that because it's a flawed premise. And so, I really like director Krennic as just being like deeply unlikable. That's probably a testament to Ben Mendelsohn being a good actor. But like he's just, you dislike the Empire because he's the Empire. He's the cruelty of it, but he's also the like bureaucracy of it. And he's wielding his authority in uncomfortable ways without being like skeevy. Is that skeezy? Without like, he's not using his power to, rape a farmer. He's using his power to make everyone around him feel uncomfortable so that he, by making them feel small, can feel big himself. And I think, like, yeah, that's authoritarianism. It's a schoolyard bully growing up and still being a dick, and never growing up and realizing that, like, people matter, other people matter. And so, yeah, like, I think it does a good job without, again, having to do the Skywalker saga and without having to, like, blow up a planet. Grand Moff Tarkin's evil, like, that's clear because of how he treats Alderaan, not just blowing up the planet, but because of his detachment to it, his inhumane cruelty about it, just to, like, be cruel. So we see, like, the Empire is evil beyond just the Emperor being yucky and a bad man who laughs maniacally. I think Andor season 2 really lays out that, like, the Mike Johnsons of the world are evil. Steve Miller, obviously, but, like, you know, that banality of evil is there throughout. And, like, yeah, the people who are just following orders and executing evil laws execute good humans. We see the way that characters we like and grow to love get killed off because it's a prequel, so they can't kill off the main character. Um, uh, yeah, but, like, it's very well done. It's hard to watch. The Gorman stuff is really good. It's weird, I think, in Star Wars to see, like, TV, radio propaganda. Um, it's weird to watch a DJ robot do a wedding in Star Wars. Like, some of that stuff, I was like, well, you got to, like, think old technology for what the 70s thought space technology would be like. So I didn't love some of that in the same way I didn't love the scooter biker gang and Boba Fett, but also Boba Fett was just bad. And so was Kenobi, and I heard there's a second season. And, like, I love to see Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen have lightsaber fights. But maybe I'm just getting old. Andor was, like, so good. Season 1 was really good. I can't swim. Mon Mothma also is just, like, I don't some of the, like, the whys of that, of, like, what was the whole thing with her kid getting married? That was, I know there was a point. I know that they were showing, like, power and, like, hierarchies and all this stuff is bad and yucky, and doesn't this make us feel uncomfortable? And why would a senator risk all of this for the rebellion? But, like, her speech is really good and impassioned, and Luthen is a great character. Again, like, some of these characters who take big risks and sacrifices is really good. I thought, like, Jimmy Smith must have died. Jimmy Smith? Shoot. This is why I never list character actors, because I get names wrong all the time. Uh, Jimmy Smits. I was right. He's alive. I was like, why is Bail Organa a different person? I assumed he died. I didn't know until tonight when I hit record. When I looked up a quick perusal of the Wikipedia page on Andor to remind myself of some of the names. Just scheduling conflict. What? You're not going to drop whatever else is in your schedule to do Andor season 2, to do Star Wars, to be Princess Leia's adoptive father? Are you kidding me? What sort of lowball offer is Disney giving for their Star Wars shows? Because that's a preposterous thing. That has led me down an entire rabbit hole of, like, curiosity with, like, what else is that guy doing? That some sort of new Dexter? I don't know. What else was he in? That's not a genuine question. What else is he in? That's not my point. The point is, what else could possibly be cooler than being in Star Wars and being Bail Organa? Maybe because he was involved in, like, Leia as a child running away from, like, Imperial officers and that being some of the worst Star Wars ever. And, like, there's a strong competition for worst Star Wars ever now. Andor is not in it. Andor is really good. And season 2, while being uncomfortable because it's a pretty much beat for beat take of what's going on in America right now, still really good. The Gorman stuff is, again, like, I'm, as a Star Wars fan, like, ugh, stop putting our understanding of technology in Star Wars. Star Wars is a dusty, sandy place, Tatooine, and it's old radio receivers and weird technology and not television. But like, I'm being nitpicky as a Star Wars fan, not that it wasn't a good understanding of how propaganda works and state sponsored television and corruption out of fear leading to travesty after travesty after travesty. Accountability matters and people standing up matters, and like that's the thing. And like the some of the callbacks to season 1, I'm drawing a blank on the character's name because I did not rewatch season 1, but the young rebel who wrote sort of his rebellious manifesto, and like rebellion is everywhere, and you know the empire has to be rigid on every single front, and that's why the rebellion will win. Like, that's really poignant stuff, and that's stuff that's like that matters when we're talking about mutual aid and community building and like marathon, not a sprint, and all this stuff. And then the Supreme Court comes in and is like, no, corporations are people, and also these people aren't legal anymore, and there's no rules for certain people. And also, don't ask us about our finances, how dare you. uh you know it's depressing to have your like free time, recreation time, escape of something you're maybe nostalgic about or something that you're impressed about, be so depressingly accurate to the real world. And yet, like, again, I don't know, 1977, George Lucas was writing this about Vietnam and basing the Millennium Falcon off of a hamburger with an olive on it. Like, you know, I don't know. There's like some greatness to Star Wars and also really rough, coarse sand. It's like the rough dialogue. So Andor season 2 is really good. It's not like the best TV show ever because it has some flaws and it avoids most of the big Star Wars traps, and it's still a prequel, and it's still a huge IP owned by an evil corporation. So I don't know. Authoritarian is fascist takeover as portrayed by the media conglomerate that lets it all happen. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to be like, Disney show was really great. Thanks for our anti-authoritarian messages, media overlords. We appreciate you. But like Diego Luna, that, again, I looked it up and now I'm off. Yeah, Diego Luna was amazing, and it's very well acted. And then like he hosted Kimmel the other day, and Kimmel, one of the late night shows. I don't know. I'm loosely up on pop culture. He gave a very good, impassioned speech about the things that are in Andor in the real world, and that it's about people. The rebellion was about people, but America is about people, and it's about communities coming together, and it's humans seeing each other as human and like helping. It was lovely and really great, and that's sort of the hopefulness of Andor, of not that we need the Skywalkers to save us and that there is some magical savior coming, but that it's the people. And I think the thing with Andor being a prequel, and even though it's plot armor, it did a good job of saying like, this wasn't such a like messianic, God out of the machine savior. This was people. People made this happen. The regular people who cared about other people, wanted to protect their families. Those are the people who made it all possible. So I like that. I like that reframe, and certainly the hopefulness that came through. Again, a hard watch when we're living through it in the real time, but also like that the hope is there, that the spark of rebellion is hopeful, that people, rebellion being about people, is where we land, and that's kind of lovely. So the show's really good. Um, the stress, the PTSD, the you can't get good results, you can't fix the broken system from inside. All that stuff was pretty spot on. And yeah, Star Wars that like exists in the Star Wars universe without being Skywalkery is great. I'm not even opposed to like lightsabers. Bring on some of the old Republic stuff. I would love to see Darth Sion and Nihilus as more than just video game villains, but like full on characters. Like Nihilus ate a planet. It's the dark side of the Force. Sion defeated death by being such a hateful person that he maintained his decaying body. Where are those characters? Why are we getting more and more Skywalkers? Why are we getting clones of Skywalkers when we could have that? And like there's a whole universe out there. There's a lot of stuff that could happen. So I'm here for like more good Star Wars and not here for more spin-offs and remakes of the Skywalker saga. It's how I feel about it. It took me a long time to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that's a character I like because the shows haven't been great. Andor allows for some hope that like Star Wars as an idea, as a universe, as a fictional space we have grown up with and love can be good. Less fun anti-hero Boba Fett, more anti-fascists, rebellious, anti-authority Star Wars, please. So, Andor season 2, really good. Watch it. Find your local rebellious people and join them because we are living through the potential overtake by an evil empire. People, sign up with your people. Your people matter. People matter, not power. All right, y'all. Thanks for stopping by, checking out the channel. If you want other stuff, sometimes I watch things. Mostly I listen to things. So music, breakup songs about drama, religious drama, or otherwise. That stuff's all good. I got, let's see, what's in the pipeline for content. I rewatched Fleabag. I have thoughts. It's a very good show. I'm watching Sopranos for the first time. I've never watched it before, so that'll be coming up. Talking about that stuff. Always open to music. I'm listening to a lot of technical death metal, so that's harder to review about mental health topics. So that stuff's all great. If you want more of me, I have a podcast called Your Therapist Needs Therapy. If you want me to review something directly, drop down in the comments, like, subscribe, do all those YouTube things. It helps. I was gonna say may the force be with you, but again, not a fan of the cultiness of the Jedi. So go be rebellious. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Peace.